Listen up. From now on, I'm going to post a what if now and again. It won't be every 3-4 videos, but I will be posting what ifs on top of my regular reactions. So leave comments down below if you want me to continue a what if, or if you want a new one. Let's get straight into this. Okay, let me get this straight, Harley. He's nice, he carries guns, and he's Japanese. And no offense, I don't really see what you... But before Ivy could finish, another picture gets slided. Ivy gets a little nosebleed and then says to Harley, "Okay, how can one pull off hot, cute and sexy at the exact same time?" Harley then laughs and says, "No clue, bud. Well, that's how it is." Ivy then says, "Would you mind sharing him with me?" Harley then says, "Well, he can make your legs go numb in less than 5 minutes." Ivy then smirks and says, "Well, I could use some experimental mushrooms and that too, for a huge agility boost in that. You know, to make it last longer." Harley then laughs and says even them wouldn't work. Trust me, he is a monster in bed. Harley then asks Ivy, "So, how long would it take you if you got out on good behaviour?" Ivy then says, "Well, depending on how good, just under 10 months if that." Harley then says, "Well, I'm going to try and work on that, the exact same. Then I might be able for it to see him before he gets into UA." Harley then says, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. He has hero analysis books." Poison Ivy's confused. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean, he writes, he's more cautious than Batman on a bad day." Ivy then laughs and says, "That's not possible, right? He has 5 different magazines, each with different kinds of kryptonite." Ivy's eyes widen. She's like, "There's no way he could be that cautious, right? He is literally a Halo Spartan." Ivy then freezes for a second and says, "By Halo you don't mean..." "Yep, from the Halo franchise, the prequel franchise, as he calls it. Stuff over 200 years old." Ivy's eyes widen even more. She says, "That means that man's got infinite stamina, right?" Ivy laughs and says, Harley laughs and says, "Well, no clue, bud. Let's just say I can't wait to see him." They hear an explosion and then the Joker walks in. And then he says, "Oh hey Harley Quinn. Heard you got yourself caught. And I'm here to break you out." He then blows the door off the hinges. And then Harley Quinn says, "I'm fixing my mistakes." And then kicks him right in the nuts. Harley Quinn continues to kick him in the nuts, making him cough out blood. Then Batman appears and just sees this. Then he just sees Harley put back the door to her cell. And then she just looks at Batman and goes, "Oh, hey, Bats. Yeah, he's right there. You might want to get him checked out." We cut straight to the UA entrance exam. Everybody is confused when the gate opens. Deku just sighs and runs right past him. Mike says he has the right idea. Follow him. Then Deku is hiding on top of a building, quietly and sniping them. We then cut to the UA faculty room. Eraser's eye. Well, he sees in the corner of his eye Deku sniping him from a distance, keeping his cool. Snipe's about to say something, and then Eraser says, "What's that kid's name and quirk?" Nezu says, "Izuku Midoriya, quirk Halo. You can do anything from the pre-quirk video game Halo." Eraser's like, "A lot of versatility, so why is he not rushing through?" He then says, "Well, according to this, he doesn't like to talk much and prefers to be alone." Eraser then gets a little smirk and he's like, "I want that kid in my class." Then Snipe says, "Oh, come on. You always get the best students." Then Eraser just sighs and says, "No offense, that kid looks like somebody who might go into underground." Then Nezu just starts laughing maniacally, and Eraser gives his shit-eating grin and says, "Let's see how well that kid does to the zero-pointer." Then Deku sees the zero-pointer. He's thinking, well, on one hand I could just completely ignore it, but on the other hand, it could get in the way. Deku sighs and then runs straight towards the zero-pointer. Mid-sprint, he equips his Spartan armor and pulls out a gravity hammer. He then leaps at it, full power, and whacks the robot straight in the head, destroying its head. He then uses the grapple and then just disappears out of everybody's sight. We then cut back to the faculty room. Eraser's a bit surprised about how fast he did that. And as he says, by the looks of it, he just did it because he was bored. Eraser just sighs and says, "Well, I'm not bothered. In fact, that's kind of why I want that kid in my class. He thinks on the spot and he doesn't hesitate." All Might then asks Nezu, "Can I speak to that kid in person?" Then Nezu says, "I don't think that's a good idea. Especially if I'm thinking what you're thinking. That kid ain't really one for the spotlight." Nezu says to All Might. Eraser then just says plainly, "So we want to go into underground?" Nezu then says, "In a way, yes. Since you know how good Halo is with stealth weapons and that." Eraser then just shrugs and says, "Well, I want that kid directly in my class. Deku walks into his apartment. He's like, it feels a bit empty. Then he hears a noise from the kitchen. He pulls out his pistol and walks in. Then he sees Harley Quinn and Ivy. Deku then blinks and then says, "Wasn't you serving a life sentence? Well, something close to that." Harley Quinn then says, "Well, I got out on good behaviour and a few connections and that, but don't worry, I'm here on citizenship, so I won't be doing anything illegal anytime soon." Deku sighs and rolls his eyes. Then he says, "So, who's the redhead?" That's when Poison Ivy says, "Hey, I do take a little offence to that, but, well, Poison Ivy, nice to meet you." Then when Deku remembers her name, he then pulls out a notebook and then just starts scribbling in it. Poison Ivy's then confused, and Harley Quinn just says, "I still don't get how he could pull that book out of anywhere." Literally. Then he says, "Oh, sorry, Izuku Midoriya." Then he puts his hand out. She shakes and feels how firm his grip is. Then Poison Ivy's like, "So, Harley Quinn said you wouldn't mind sharing. Well, she wouldn't mind sharing me with you." Deku's just confused at first, and then while he's scribbling in the book again, he just says plainly, "Harley Quinn said she won't mind sharing me with you, you tried to say." She then just blinks and goes, "Isn't that... anyway." Then I might, but I have 2 weeks before UA, because I definitely know I got first place and whatnot. Then Deku just shrugs. Anyway, about you two being my girlfriend, I don't mind. But there is a few things you should know about me. I don't hold back when it comes to fighting, no matter what. And if we want to spar, well, then you know what you're getting into. They both shrug and then, okay, they both just say in sync. We then cut to a few weeks later. We're at the UA class. The entire class is looking at Deku. Bakugo's confused since he remembers that Deku got first place. He then just shrugs it off as Deku working out a lot, and unlike him, he does have a slight respect for Deku. Then Yoraka walks in, saying, "Hey, you must be the dude in that suit of armor." Deku just casually rolls his eyes, walks to his desk, and sits down. He then looks at Eraser, and then he just rolls his eyes and puts his headphones in and starts having his music blasting. Eraser then gets out of his sleeping bag, looks at everybody and sighs. He then says, "Alright, it took you 50 seconds to realise that I was here. sit down now. Then everybody sits down. Then he looks at Deku and says, only one of you figured out where I was straight off the bat. Deku then just takes off his headphones and Eraser then just says, actually, you can just keep your headphones in since you're the only one who realised I was there. Deku just gives a little smirk, puts his headphones back in, and closes his eyes, not falling asleep. We then go to the strength training area. Eraser then says to Deku, you got first place, but you can just skip this. They're all confused, and then Eraser just says plainly, one, he came first place in the entrance exam. Two, he's gonna be doing other training. Simply. They're all confused, but then they all just roll with it. We cut to the end, but Deku does decide to do it, and he just aced all the tests. But when it comes to the ball throw, instead of using like everybody else when they throw it, he does something like Momo where she uses a cannon. Deku just launches it straight up in the air and whacks it with the gravity hammer. We then cut back to Deku's apartment after the first day. Listen up, sorry about if some pictures are off, because it's really hard to find the exact same ones. And this was part 2 of What If Deku Was the Quiet Kid. I'm thinking about making them between something close to 20 and 30 minutes. I'll see you on the flip side.